Hello, everyone. Today we talked about culture of spirituality and science, 3D, 4D, 5D on the podcast. Although I will be continuing the conversation because I kind of got cut short, but I wanted to share something important for the community and those who stand for unconditional love. This is where every heart that is deemed unworthy of love is the exact heart that needs the most love, psychologically speaking, sociologically speaking, and even from the neuroscientific aspect speaking. It's become clear with the knowledge that I have and that I share, and it becomes clearer and clearer in all the different groups that I see who stand up for things they've experienced personally and have hurt, and so they're finding their justice, right? Become clear that the science that is made available to all is not something they actually take the time to read or include in the way they address their stuff. And so I'm going to read to you what I was writing because this is the expression of unconditional love and standing up for the underdog of society. The person who gets boxed up into the evil category instead of the very, very emotionally hurt ego who needs the most love and understanding and working with to bring to state of love that that person did not have growing up is the lack that I keep on seeing when people are standing up for something that we want right for, right? So in society wants to feel safe. They want to stand up for those aggressors. The part that the underdog, the aggressor, is not being addressed by the scientific community with neutrality. This is where I just yesterday saw people that are in that community using the same emotional response to those individuals versus what I would deem an academic response. If you know psychologically, sociologically, physiologically, the human being that acts in specific ways, there are terms for that there is an issue at hand, then you should stand in neutrality. That's what enlightenment is, information that you use. The defense and aggressiveness that comes forth instead through their verbiage, through their expression, reminds me, and I'm just going to skip to the part because really, it reminds me of the mob of the medieval times when they would chant and celebrate in the square somebody's hanging. And yet, society at this point in 2021 speaks of itself, particularly at least in the Western world, very highly and using terms as civilized. Well, I would say that at this point in our history as a species, we have enough of the information from psychology, sociology, all the science that exists, including the technology that can literally go and check out the wiring. So we know that, yes, wiring wise, there can be some predispositions, the same way we know that if somebody falls off a bike, there can be repercussions that cause specific behavior because we work through the brain and the nervous system. So I'm just saying we don't have the lack of technology or information at this point in our journey to still behave as a medieval society, which, by the way, those same people that talk about us as civilized are not connecting the dots and themselves to this space. They apparently are civilized and doing what is supposed to be done. That's not how a world becomes loving. This is where, and even if we want to put aside the love, because this is where I've talked to people before and they express this fact. I'm never going to not believe in evil. I'm never going to say this is not bad because they were very fixated on these ways of expressing. And I say it's not about what you're speaking. It's literally about if I'm telling you the why, you know the why, you know the what, we need to fix, quote unquote, the only way you fix a hurt ego when it's the hurt ego, because again, psychology alone explains it all. When if it's because of some firing, I can even leave it at that. But guess what? I know that there's more to that too. By the way, but let's put that part aside. Becoming an aggressor is not going to transform evil, quote unquote. It actually perpetuates it because guess what? Those aggressors who, yes, they're fighting for that justice. I get it. They've been hurt. So they're reacting with their own insecure ego. Well, they're perpetuating that feeling. This is not a loving feeling. To expect that then a society becomes loving you're not doing it. You're not behaving in a loving way. You're not even understanding that there are actual tangible reasons, which is why that term, it's still used. And those who claim to be scientific are the ones who, for me, I'm saying, okay, are you scientific? Because I have faith. So, I mean, I remove myself. I'm not an academic. I went to academia. I loved it. I got out of it. I'm a professional now. But yeah, you build a world of love with unconditional love and taking action to keep people physically safe while humanity works through generations of hurt and more hurt to different groups of people in different ways for different reasons that we can spend time asking why or continuing to use the whole belief system. Instead, we could turn to practical, tangible. We have systems, improve our systems. Our science tells us why, work with our science, and between humanity, be civilized. Not only where you think it's good to be civilized and then, apply where you think you can be an evil human being yourself because that human being deserves that. You treat them that way because of what they did. It's, again, very interesting way of thinking about making a difference in the world. And I understand more than you guys can imagine what it means to face certain things in life. So it's not in the absence of experiences that I speak these words. It is standing up for unconditional love and the underdog of society who needs more of it. It is to actually make a difference and to remove completely, quote unquote, evil. It's not going to be by being mean and an aggressor that you change the world. That makes small changes. It is by being a human who can love, who can understand, and who can reason, and who can be patient, and then who can work with all the things that have our society work together, our systems, which that needs improvement. Again, we know this. It's through the individuals, what they stand for, how you behave, that you make a difference. That is the way to share love, not by being the mob. And so I get the mob, but let us try and be enlightened. Let us try to move forward and stop to actually use a term civilized when essentially there's still a lot of things that go on, which again, my mind thinks of the medieval times. And the people, the groups that are fighting for them, they're not standing up in a way that can bring a true transformation for equality for all of us. Because the minute you're leaving out a group of people that need love is the minute you are excluding a very important aspect. And since they exist, you don't eradicate, again, quote unquote, evil with other evil. That's not how it works. We all know that. Applying it is also not too hard when the person can notice that they've been hurt themselves, and that's why they're behaving the way they're behaving. And anyways, room for thought, food for thought, and I'll be back again with other content. But this was, yes, for the community. Try to be loving, understanding, and if you want, the system, work with the system. Get into the system, get elected, do something. Don't become what you judge. Because every time somebody becomes an aggressor to an aggressor, they've just done the same thing that they've been done to. Even though many, again, that I speak to, it's like, no, I'm justified. I'm fine with it. Okay, at least they own up to that, but that's not going to change the world. So if you say, I want to change the world, and you speak of unconditionally loving humanity, so I'm talking again to the community that says, I love humanity, I want to help the world. You help the world by being love. And there's always a way to keep everybody safe in the meantime while we have these situations that are very, very important and impactful in the world in more ways than we could discuss in a short message. So